Every true UFC fan loves a photo finish, and nothing represents this more than a polarizing body slam. Countless times, we've seen many UFC fighters settle important fights with these sensational moves, but which ones rank as the best? Join us in this blockbuster video as we reveal the top 10 body slams in UFC history. Number 10. Gabriel Benitez vs. Humberto Bandeira. Body slam isn't exactly the most famous defense move in the UFC. However, some experienced fighters who have mastered the act always tend to deploy it from time to time, especially when they are caught in an armbar. One of such fighters is Gabriel Benitez, who produced a stunning slam against Humberto Bandeira on the UFC Fight Night 129. It was a tense atmosphere befitting of a keenly contested brawl between two fighters, but in the end, a body slam was all that was needed to settle the scores in the first round. Number 9. Dominique Steele vs. Doug Hyun Ma. Dominique Steele's UFC career wasn't the longest, but his active time in the sports produced some crazy highlights that we will never forget. His best showing in the arena came back in 2015 during a fight against Doug Hyun Ma. After wearing out Dong Ma, Dominique Steele made his intentions known in the third round by securing a double leg before lifting him up and slamming him hard to the canvas. Unfortunately, this American MMA went further to deliver 2 elbows to the face of Dong. These extra punches literally had no effect on the fight, as the referee called it a day. Number 8. Daniel Cormier vs. Dan Henderson. Of all the slams in this video, and by extension in UFC history, this unbelievable move might just be the most lethal slam that we've ever seen. Before now, nobody had been able to defeat Dan Henderson in the UFC. But as soon as he was paired against Daniel Cormier at UFC 173, you could sense that an upset was on the cards. Cormier dominated quite comfortably in the first 2 rounds, and as soon as the third round started, he could already smell blood. Within a twinkle of an eye, he charged aggressively at Henderson, slamming him against the canvas with great conviction and utter force. And that more or less settled the fight. Number 7. Robbie Lawler vs. Ben Askren. For this fight, most fans were determined to see how Ben Askren would cope against some fresh UFC competition, especially after his significant era of dominance in Bellator and 1. As both fighters were trying to feel themselves in the first round, Lawler landed a powerful and dreadful slam on Askren. The whole arena could feel the impact, and you could almost bet that he had secured a TKO victory. But on the contrary, it was Askren who dug deep and recovered just in time to earn a submission victory. Number 6. Eddie Wineland vs. Ken Stone. Eddie Wineland was already a force to be reckoned with before his fierce encounter against Ken Stone in the WEC. But even so, he was fully determined to make a statement that night, and that's exactly what he did. After many sessions of fierce encounters between both fighters, Stone made a bold move. He attempted to jump guard and choke Wineland against the cage, but the latter reached for his box of tricks and produced a top-class finish. Before Ken Stone could realize what was happening, he had been brutally slammed into the canvas. Indeed, Eddie Wineland followed up with successive strikes, but they were all unnecessary because Stone was already unconscious the moment his body made contact with the mat. Until today, this incredible slam knockout remains the biggest highlight of Wineland's career in the WEC. Number 5. Gray Maynard vs. Rob Emerson. Gray Maynard faced off with Rob Emerson at the Ultimate Fight 5 finale to produce a spectacle for the fans and perhaps even the umpire. Maynard was in control in most of the exchanges, as he kept striking Emerson to lure him into a position that would allow him to perform the perfect slam finish. And once the chance presented itself, Gray Maynard wasted no time in delivering a worldwide finish. First, he picked up Emerson, then he went straight for a big double leg slam, which his opponent probably didn't see coming. The impact of the slam forced Emerson to tap out immediately. But something strange followed next. While the fans were celebrating Gray Maynard's obvious victory, the referee realized he was unconscious. The slow-motion replay of the move showed he hit his head while slamming Rob Emerson against the canvas. In other words, even he was knocked out by his own slam. In the end, the organizers changed the fight to a no contest, because Emerson willfully tapped out and Maynard somehow knocked consciousness out of himself while trying to knock out his opponent. It certainly doesn't get crazier than that. Number 4. Matt Hughes vs. Carlos Newton. This brutal fight between Matt Hughes and Carlos Newton certainly ranks as one of the most fascinating bouts in the history of the UFC, especially considering the way. Number 3. Sarah Kaufman vs. Roxanne Modafferi. Expectedly, Sarah Kaufman makes the list, and it's Number 2. Rampage Jackson vs. Ricardo Arona. Some would argue that this brawl between Rampage Jackson and Ricardo Arona is the world's most vicious slam knockout. And whether you agree or not, this exceptional finish will remain in the hearts of those that saw it live and many others that have watched the replay ever since. For those who knew Rampage Jackson well enough, you will know that he has a long history of producing blockbuster finishes, and this one wasn't any different. To be fair to Arona, he did put up a fight, and a strong one at that. In fact, he somehow found a way to wrap his legs around Rampage's head. But rather than finish the job, he allowed Rampage to grow in confidence and walk back into the fight. Once Rampage Jackson found his Number 1. Jessica Andrade vs. Rose Namajunas. Up next, we have the keenly contested bout between Jessica Andrade and Rose Namajunas at UFC 237. As the defending champion, Rose Namajunas was the clear favorite, but Jessica threw a spanner in the works. The Thug Rose, as she's fondly called, dominated the first round. As a matter of fact, she was beating her Brazilian counterpart in every significant aspect of the fight, including speed, range, and the like. However, everything changed at the start of the second round. Andrade grabbed the American defending champion and held her high for what is widely regarded today as one of the most stunning finishes in recent memory. The finish was so unreal that some people challenged it, saying it was illegal, but Jessica Andrade wouldn't mind too much.